Hi, my name is Ryan Lippe, and I'm a consumer educator with Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost's Consumer Protection Section. I'm here today to talk about senior scams, one of our most popular presentations because who wants to be scammed out of personal information or money? We're going to go over the red flags and some of the common scams we see almost on a daily basis at the Ohio Attorney General's office. First, I want to give you an overview of the office. The Ohio Attorney General is Dave Yost. He's an elected official, and he oversees roughly 33 sections and about 1,600 employees at the Ohio Attorney General's office. I'm not going to go over all the different sections, but I will tell you a few of them that you may be specifically interested in. We do have a crime victim section. They can do presentations about compensation for victims of violent crimes. We have a charitable law section. They can talk to you about being a wise donor, and they take lots of complaints about charities that may not be legitimate. Most charities are well-meaning, but there's always a few bad apples. There's also the healthcare fraud section. They enforce the Ohio Patient Abuse and Neglect Act. So if something is wrong at an assisted living center or a nursing home, they may want to investigate. So feel free to give them a call with information about those issues. Also, they deal with Medicaid fraud. In fact, they're nationally recognized most years on the amount of money they bring back to taxpayers from the Medicaid system. Most physicians and doctors' offices and medical organizations do the right thing, but if they overbill or if they try to scam the Medicaid system, that's why we have the healthcare frauds Medicaid fraud unit. A couple sections of the office are law enforcement related. We have the Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy. They do advanced law enforcement training. They do lots of certifications of basic training facilities and basic training instructors. They're based in London, Ohio, and I know they also have some facilities in Richfield up in Northeast Ohio. And we have the Ohio Attorney General's Bureau of Criminal Investigation and Identification. BCI is sort of like CSI. They do a lot of crime scene work. They do evidence handling, testing of evidence. They do DNA analysis, handwriting analysis, fingerprint analysis, all that type of work. They solve a lot of missing persons cases. So BCI is an important part of the Ohio Attorney General's office. Now, when I talk about the Ohio Attorney General's office, we give legal advice and representation to state agencies and statewide public officials. We cannot be your personal lawyer or give legal assistance to individuals. We do offer individuals a lot of very good services, but legal advice is not allowed. The Consumer Protection section ensures a safe marketplace for consumers. We enforce statutes that regulate consumer transactions. We can investigate companies that may be violating the law, and when necessary, take legal action on behalf of all consumers and businesses in the state. Now, a consumer transaction can include such things as buying a vehicle, seeing a store advertisement, home improvement work. A lot of these types of transactions are covered in what's known as the Consumer Sales Practices Act. In terms of buying a vehicle, for example, we want to make sure that that transaction goes smoothly. You choose the dealership wisely as well as the vehicle wisely. A lot of vehicles are sold as is with no warranty, so it's more important than ever that you get a hold of the Attorney General's used car buyer checklist. If you're in the market for a used car, great document to make sure you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's when you buy a used vehicle. Seeing a store advertisement, we certainly wouldn't want a business to double the price of an item and then claim you're getting buy one, get one free. That certainly wouldn't be true. If free is supposed to mean free in the state of Ohio. Home improvement work is another big area that our office works with. Some contractors are going door to door that may be illegitimate. They may only have your money in mind and they may not do any work, or they'll do shoddy work and stop showing up. So with home improvement work, it's really important to go to the Better Business Bureau and/or the Ohio Attorney General's office. Check out that company, check out that contractor to see if they have a lot of unaddressed complaints or if they have a poor record of handling complaints, because we do see a lot of folks going door to door that may be less than legitimate. That's a red flag that they may be desperate for business if they have to resort to going door to door. Now, how do we resolve cases like this? More or less, a lot of these cases are resolved through informal dispute resolution that the Consumer Protection Section offers to Ohioans. Again, we can't go to court for you. We're not going to sue a business based on one complaint and one individual fact scenario. We're going to need to see a pattern or practice of bad behavior. But if you have a refund that you think you deserve, you can come to our office and be part of our informal dispute resolution program. It has a lot of success of at least getting some refunds back to some customers that may be in need. We took 21,000 complaints in 2019. Usually our numbers are in roughly 20 to 30,000 complaints a year. Motor vehicles was our #1 complaint category in 2019. Whether it be repairing a vehicle, buying a new vehicle, buying a used vehicle, a lot of people had a lot of complaints about the car, truck of their choice. Also, you see a lot of other complaint categories listed here. I'm going to talk about identity theft at the end of this presentation. That's a very important category because a lot of people have trouble because of data breaches and various other problems that get their social security number and get other personal identifying information into the hands of scammers. So we're going to talk a lot about that towards the end of the presentation. We do have our economic crimes unit. They help local authorities in terms of investigating and prosecuting consumer fraud of a criminal nature. Now, when our consumer laws were designed, they gave the Attorney General's office, for the most part, civil authority, which would allow us to get consumers' money back, perhaps penalizing companies for bad behavior. But a lot of these folks, a lot of these scam artists, maybe they deserve jail time. Maybe they're actually violating criminal statutes. That's why we have our economic crimes unit, and they could not do their work without combining forces with law enforcement in municipalities and throughout the counties of Ohio, and working with county prosecutors. That is how they're able to get these folks in jail where some of them deserve. Patrick Wilson is a good story about why we have the Economic Crimes Unit. He was a home improvement contractor indicted on 70 charges and accused of stealing over $400,000. This took place in many, many Ohio counties. A home improvement contractor in Southeast Ohio. He actually included amongst his victims 4 elderly individuals. He was in Morgan County, and he accepted large down payments from clients to buy building materials for decks, pole barns, garages, houses. He never delivered the supplies. He never completed the work. He never refunded the money. So a total of 34 people from Ohio and West Virginia say they lost a combined $412,000 allegedly to Wilson from 2017 through June 2019. So that's a good example of why we have the Economic Crimes Unit within the Ohio Attorney General's office. We also have a robocall enforcement unit. Their goal is to make Ohio the toughest state for robocallers to operate in. The most important tip when it comes to these annoying nuisance robocallers is just don't answer the phone. That is the most important advice I can give you on this slide. Now, if you happen to answer the phone, and I know some people are tempted, they may not know the phone numbers of everybody trying to call them, and you can help by reporting robocalls. So if you answer one of these automated calls, text the word robo, R-O-B-O, to 888-111. If you text ROBO to 888-111, you will get a very simple form to fill out that will help us create a database of robocall reports. We can then share that data to help trace some of the calls. Now, obviously, that takes cooperation involving other agencies and companies, but to get to the bottom of these robocalls, it's important that you don't answer the phone, but if you do answer, report it to our office with all the information you have about that robocaller. Now, there certainly are legal robocalls. I don't want to say all robocalls are bad because we get calls from our doctor's office reminding you of an appointment. Get calls from your child's school with weather-related information. If it's a snow day, you want to know that, and a robocall is sometimes the way that a school district will inform you. We're really talking about the illegal robocalls, the calls that you have not consented to, that generally try to get you to pay for something or to give away personal information. Those are the calls we want to stop once and for all. These are some do's and don'ts of unwanted calls. If you're not on the do not call list, I certainly would want you to be on that list if you want to prevent some of those telemarketing calls. Now, the do not call list works to the effect of getting legitimate telemarketers to not call your phone number. What's getting through are mostly scammers. So if you're on the do not call list, you can find out whether someone might be violating the law. But first, you got to report them to the donotcall.gov website or by calling 888-382-1222. So that's on the do not call side of things. In terms of robocalls, there are research services offered by your phone provider to block unwanted calls. It depends on your phone provider, but there are also apps for your cell phone. If you install a trusted and reliable app, you might be able to block or at least get a warning of suspicious calls. And it's important that you limit the people that you share your phone number with and add only trusted phone numbers to your list of contacts. I would take all the incoming calls, and if you don't recognize the number, don't answer it. Don't provide personal or financial information by phone as a rule, and don't interact with the caller in any way. I've seen lots of cases where people are tempted to push 1 to talk to a live voice or to push 9, for instance, to opt out of future calls. Usually those don't work. Those are simply measures that try to get you on a lead list, that get you exposed to even further phone calls. So don't push any phone digits to opt out, just hang up the phone. Don't call back unfamiliar phone numbers, and don't always rely on caller ID. The fact is that scammers have what's called caller ID spoofing technology, whereas they can put whatever phone number they want you to see on your caller ID screen. That means that you might be getting a lot of calls that appear to be local, but these folks actually could be using internet-based dialing systems from literally other countries around the globe. So why are seniors targeted? We see a lot of folks that are vulnerable because they're older in years. And so why would a scammer target a senior? First of all, they're more trusting and polite. They come from a generation where you used to be able to seal a deal on a handshake. You used to be able to look into somebody's eyes and know whether they were telling the truth or not. Not so true with these younger generations, but people have a mentality of trusting people innately and being polite, not wanting to slam the phone down, not wanting to tell folks no. Also, seniors tend to have more assets. At least the thought is that they might have Social Security income, they might have investment income, they might have lots of assets to speak of. So scammers go to where the money is, and they realize that a lot of seniors do have some discretionary income or are willing to part with their money. Also, seniors are sometimes less likely to report fraud. We see a lot of seniors that are embarrassed or ashamed of being defrauded or scammed, and they simply want to be left alone. They may not know who to report it to, or they maybe feel like they're too embarrassed to share their story. Also, a lot of seniors are more independent and isolated. And by isolated, I mean maybe they're widowed, Maybe they've had friends and family move out of their part of Ohio completely. So they feel like they're left to their own devices to answer all the phone calls and deal with all the mail. And sometimes they won't be thinking clearly, and they won't necessarily act to put their guard up and to be a skeptic. You certainly don't want to get caught in a scam. And here's where we're going to go through some of the red flags of a scam so you can spot scams more easily in the future. First of all, you want to watch for a bunch of common tactics we're going to go over. And the first one is the payment method that some of these scammers use. They request things like wire transfers through Western Union or MoneyGram. They might deal with prepaid money cards, gift cards like Google Play cards or Amazon or iTunes cards. Why do they use those types of payment methods? Because they know that it's very unlikely for them to get caught, because those are fairly anonymous payment methods, and it's very difficult for a consumer to get their money back if they pay using one of those types of sources. Also, requests for personal information. Scammers want your personal information. It's very valuable. And frankly, we're probably not frugal enough or skeptical enough when people ask for our full birth date or a part of our social security number or our mother's maiden name. Those types of things can be used to commit identity theft. Passwords, PIN numbers, all personal identifying information needs to be kept to yourself. A lot of scammers will pressure you to act immediately. I remember there was one case where they gave a woman 45 minutes to go to a local drugstore or grocery store and get over $2,000 in prepaid money cards or gift cards. They told her that she was going to go to jail if she didn't respond immediately. She thought she was doing the right thing. She thought it was a legitimate phone call. They tried to talk her into saying she owed a payday loan, which she never even owed to them. So that's where they give you pressure. They say there are going to be terrible consequences for not acting immediately. They do that to get you on your off footing. They do that so you're not thinking clearly and you want to be able to do the right thing and clear the issue up, so you may listen to them instead of your good senses. Also, request to keep the conversation a secret. That's sort of my clue that you ought to tell somebody. There's no legitimate reason why somebody would want you to keep their conversation with you a secret if you've won a sweepstakes legitimately or if you owe money. Those aren't the types of conversations that need to be kept a secret, but the scammer will tell you that so you won't tell friends and family and expose them as a scammer. They know that if you tell others or you begin to do research, that's the first step to get to trying to catch them and to ending their scam. Guarantee to make money. Obviously, interest rates are pretty low. A very for sure, easy, 100% safe investment like a savings account gets almost no interest payments. So if they're guaranteeing you're going to make 20% or you're going to double your money in 90 days, you know that there's either risk involved they're not telling you about, or it's simply too good to be true. If they request a large down payment, especially those home improvement contractors, that may be because they don't plan on doing much work. If somebody requests a full down payment on a big home improvement job, that is a big red flag. You should be putting no more than, say, 20 or 30% as a down payment. Maybe save some money for midway through the job if they've done satisfactory work. Save as much money as possible for the end of the transaction so that you know they're going to keep coming back and you have something there that you haven't paid them yet, and you're going to wait till a satisfied job in order to give them that rest of the money. Also, if there's no contract or nothing written into the contract, that's a red flag. If they say, please take my word for it, that doesn't sound like a promise to me. You need it to be written down in a sales contract. And if they tell you that they'll fill in the blanks of a fill in the blank contract later on when they get back to the office, don't take their word for it. You don't want an incomplete contract that you sign off on. You want to make sure you only sign off on a complete contract that has all the terms and conditions, and whatever fine print you need to read first before you sign on the dotted line. And certainly sending money out of the country is a red flag. And people tell me they would never send money out of the country. But believe it or not, these scammers work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to perfect their scam. They will even take money out of some very intelligent people by telling them they're overseas on business, or there's some kind of family emergency or some other story to get you to send money out of the country. First scam I want to talk about today is the ever popular grandparent scam. And imagine receiving a phone call from your grandchild. They explain they were in some kind of accident, or they're stuck in a foreign country. They need money to get out of jail or to get home. They sound frantic. They need your help. All you have to do is send money. The fact is, it's probably not your grandchild. It's probably an imposter. They may know your grandchild's name. They may even sound a little bit like your grandchild, but all too many times, it is simply a scam. So there are some ways to combat the grandparent scam, which we'll go over after we see a short video. Just remember, with this news story, it's not normal for someone to show up on your door to take the money. It's abnormal for that to happen. But in this case, they actually had someone show up to get money on behalf of the imposter grandchild. So it's all a scam, but just remember that part of the story is a bit abnormal for what we see in the Ohio Attorney General's office. Here's the story.
All right, a warning tonight about deceptive thieves robbing elderly victims, sometimes on their own doorsteps. We'll show you how the scam works and reveal inside secrets from a con man who pulled it off many times. Carter Evans reports tonight.
Hello. You're watching a scam artist in action.
Okay, bye-bye.
He just took $10,000 from Barbara McCullough. It all started with a phone call from someone claiming to be her grandson.
I said, you know, you really doesn't sound like you, but he said, I have a horrible cold. Then he started crying.
The caller said he needed bail money fast.
I went down to the bank and drew $10,000 out.
What's unusual is the scammer was caught on a security camera.
How often does one actually come to the victim's home?
This is only the second time in the 15 years that I've been working in these types of crimes.
Grandparent scams are one of the fastest growing crimes, and they all begin with a cry for help.
Hi, Grandpa. Hi. You know who this is? Randy? Yeah.
Nationwide, seniors are cheated out of nearly $3 billion a year. That's the official estimate.
I've heard upwards of $10 billion every single year, because a lot of these crimes aren't reported, because a lot of times they're very ashamed.
You can make 10 grand sometimes in a day if you do it properly.
A few years ago, I interviewed a con man in federal custody about his scam.
Once you get them emotionally involved, then they'll do anything for you.
I felt flattered that he even called me. Well, he called me. He didn't want to upset his parents. That's what I thought.
Detectives are now trying to track down that scam artist, and they say seniors should try and verify who's calling by asking a very personal question that only a family member would know the answer to, and also call a relative before handing over any money. Nora?
That's good information, Carter. Thank you.
Great. So now how do you deal with the grandparent scam? Well, the story actually gives us a good tool to put in our arsenal, and that's to ask a question that only the grandchild would know the answer to. A lot of times that'll stop the grandparent scammer dead in their tracks. They'll hang up and call the next victim. Also, you can always confirm with family. A lot of times they'll play the grandchild off as saying that, please don't tell mom and dad, I'm really embarrassed about this situation. I just need $1,200 to get out of jail. So when they say don't call mom and dad, that's when you ought to call your son and daughter, find out where your grandchild is to make sure they're not in any trouble. Most likely they'll be at school, they'll be at work, they'll be where they're supposed to be. And it's simply an imposter scam like that. Also, don't send money. The last thing you want to do is give a scammer money. So when in doubt, don't send money unless you're absolutely sure that your grandchild needs it. And again, only after asking them a question and confirming with family that they're truly in trouble. We do see a lot of imposter scams, and I think by volume, it's the most popular scam that we're seeing right now. Imagine receiving a phone call from the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, stating that you owe money for back taxes or that you need to verify personal information, such as your social security number. The call sounds very legitimate. Your caller ID may point to a 202 area code phone number, which is Washington, D.C., meaning the call appears to be originating from the capital city. The caller explains if you don't immediately do some things like pay them money, that you'll be arrested. Most of the time, these are clearly imposter scams. Another popular agency for scammers is to claim to be from Social Security itself, and that your number has been used in a crime and that you're going to have benefits stopped unless you give them money or give them personal information. Here's a little video about the imposter scam.
Explain that to me again, please.
All right, here's the deal. I'm going to pretend I'm with the IRS. I'm going to say you owe back taxes and threaten you with jail time. That'll scare you into giving me a whole bunch of your money. I also need your social security number too, because then I can really take you to the cleaners.
Unfortunately, it's never this obvious. That's why we're here, dedicated to protecting Ohio families against frauds and scams. Get the facts you need today at ohioprotects.org.
So what are some ways we can fight the imposter scam? First of all, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, don't trust your caller ID. If it says it's coming from down the street, it still could be a scam. If it says it's calling from Washington, D.C., that could be simply a ploy for the scammer to try to back up their story with a fraudulent phone number. Also, don't provide personal information. I know some people feel like if they get persistent phone callers, that if they give them the information they want, they'll stop calling. Never do that. You want to be frugal with your personal information. You want to be skeptical, and you don't want to provide personal information simply to make someone go away. That might be the last piece of the puzzle they need to steal your identity or to complete a profile to then sell that profile to identity thieves. Also, if you have questions, if you think it's probably a scam but you're not sure, call back using a legitimate phone number. A number you know is going to go back to that government organization or that agency. Don't call back using a phone number that they leave on your answering machine or your voicemail, because that could be literally a scam call center designed to impersonate that government agency or that organization. So call back using a legitimate number that you found in the phone book or through the library or through the official website of that government agency or organization. We see a lot of prize and sweepstakes scams as well. Imagine receiving a sweepstakes win notification stating you've just won $10,000 or $10 million even. All you need to do is claim your winnings. That sounds good. What could be harmful about that? Well, in order to do so, you have to pay an advanced fee to cover taxes associated with your winnings. It's all a scam to try to get money out of you and never deliver a prize. Especially in Ohio, prizes are supposed to be free. You shouldn't have to pay for a prize. And when you pay taxes, it's not in advance. They might tell you it's in advance simply to get you to pay them money when there's really no lottery winning or Publishers Clearinghouse prize. In fact, we do get a lot of scammers that do imposter real prize granting companies like Publishers Clearinghouse. To my knowledge, Publishers Clearinghouse is legitimate. What you get are a lot of folks that say they're Publishers Clearinghouse when they're not. So in terms of fighting the prize and sweepstakes scams, don't pay an advanced fee or an advanced tax or a customs charge to receive a prize. That's a clear indication you'll never get anything. And another piece of advice that seems to be common sense, if you didn't enter, you probably didn't win. We get a lot of people that don't enter contests, or they're still receiving phone calls claiming they've won a foreign lottery, or they've won Publishers Clearinghouse, or they've won a new car. Those are all scams. We do see a lot of fake check scams as well. This scam is a little more complex. In fact, if you're selling something online, you may have seen fake checks. A lot of times what they'll do is they'll go through all the ads on message boards, and they'll reply that they want to buy something from someone. Let's say you're selling a lawnmower for $300. Well, they'll cut you a check for $1,200, and they'll tell you that $900 needs to go to a shipping agent, when there's really no shipping agent, only somebody else that's involved in the scam. So they'll give you a check that's an overpayment, and they want some of the money sent off to a third party. That's when you know it's a scam. With the overpayment scam, we see a lot of that. And we also see work from home scams that work like this. You're accepted into a job. You've only met these people through online message boards or chat rooms. The job is maybe very vague in description. They promise you a lot of money, but first they're going to give you a check that's going to pay for your home office. And they tell you that you need to give that money to a third party that's going to set you up with the software or the hardware or the mechanics of how you're going to operate the work from home job. That's going to be a scam. That's a fake check. What they want you to do is siphon that money off, and by the time the check comes back as fraudulent, you will have already given your real money away. So what they want you to do is go into the bank, deposit the check, and then immediately go out and wire money to this third party, which is involved in the scam, or provide prepaid money cards or gift cards to someone who's also involved in the scam. That check inevitably is going to be coming back as counterfeit. It might take a few days or even a week for that bank to find out that that check is counterfeit. Then they'll suck all the money back out of your account that you shouldn't have gotten to begin with. We do also see mystery and secret shopper scams that work using fake checks as well. Checks these days, you can buy check paper at office supply stores. It's meant for small businesses, but it's abused by scammers to make it look like an official check. It could even be a cashier's check from a real bank. They might have a routing number that makes sense, an account number that makes sense. It'll have a signature. It might have watermarks on it. Every indication is that that might be a legitimate check. They'll do it so that the teller will accept the check, give you access to the money soon, and meanwhile, you're going to be given instructions to send off some of that money. These are some of the elements of a fake check. You don't have to memorize all these. Just know that a lot of times these scammers are so sophisticated that every indication will be that that check looks to be real. Again, the idea is to pass it off on you as real, as well as the bank teller or the ATM machine, so that they'll give you at least access to that money soon enough for them to convince you, the scammer to convince you to part with some of that money. We also see a lot of the computer repair scam, where you would receive a phone call from a well-known tech support specialist. They might impersonate Microsoft. They might say they're Microsoft licensed and that they're tech support for you. They state that you have a virus on your computer and offer to help you fix the problem. They even ask you to press buttons on your computer that'll pull up a list of all the programs running, so they seem to know what they're doing. But in order to fix the virus, they want you to give them remote access to your computer. That means access from far away. And that can be done if you let them, for free, access your hard drive. What's the problem with that? The problem with that is that they're scammers. They want your money, and they also want your personal information. And if you allow them to remote access into your computer, they will be able to put malicious software on your computer that will do things like lock up your computer until or unless you pay them a ransom. They might have keyloggers that go through your computer's hard drive and find out what you've been putting into your computer, like credit card numbers and passwords. So it can be very dangerous to allow remote access to a stranger. So that's the number one tip, is never allow remote access to your computer to a stranger. And if they call you instead of you calling them, you know it's probably a scam. If it's an out of the blue call from Microsoft, it's a scam. Also, remember, callers cannot tell if your computer has a virus. Don't let them into your business. Make sure that if you think you have a virus, take it to someone legitimate. Take it somewhere local to have a shop look at your computer. Or if you know someone in IT, make sure you give them and trust them with your computer, rather than taking a phone call out of the blue from someone that claims your computer's running slow. Also, this scam manifests itself in warnings, phony warnings, through pop-up windows and through your computer. If you visit a website that may have been violated or exploited, you might get a message on your computer that your computer has a virus and to call a toll-free number. That toll-free number, unfortunately, goes to a scam call center where they'll ask for money to repair your computer. So if you see an 800 number, ignore it. Take your computer somewhere legitimate to get fixed.
Hello? Hello, this is Bobby with tech support. Yeah, I'm just gonna need you to give me complete access to your computer so I can pretend to remove a virus while actually taking all your personal and financial information. Oh, and I'm gonna lock a computer, so you have to pay me to access it. Sound good?
Unfortunately, it's never this obvious. That's why we're here, dedicated to protecting Ohio families against frauds and scams. Get the facts you need today at ohioprotects.org.
A scam that we see all too often are relationship scams. And some scammers create phony profiles on dating websites and social media. They're in chat rooms, they're in bulletin boards, trying to attract victims. They want to establish a relationship and then trick them into sending money. Now, I will tell you and warn you that sometimes these scammers are pretty savvy. They'll build up trust in the potential victim for days, if not weeks or months, before they introduce money into the relationship. But this scam is where we see consumers lose the most money, and it's almost always older adults. So this is a critical part of our senior scams presentation. Now, in a typical sweetheart scam, the con artist claims to be from the US, but temporarily located somewhere else. For example, the scammer may pretend to be a military member stationed in Afghanistan, an engineer building bridges in South Africa, an oil rig worker off the Gulf Coast, a contractor working in Nigeria, or a business person stuck in Europe trying to get back to the US. So after establishing that relationship through messages and phone calls, the scammer will then claim to have a problem requiring the victim's financial assistance, such as a lost wallet or a medical emergency. The victims are asked to send money using wire transfer services, prepaid card, or other hard-to-trace payment methods. And once the money is sent, it's nearly impossible to recover. So here are some signs of a relationship scam. If you're asked for money by someone you've only met online, that's the sign of a scam. Use of credit cards without permission. Pressure to sign over a deed or a title. A forged signature. If bills go unpaid. Unusual banking activities. If belongings start missing. That might be a friends and family type scam that we see all too often. So in addition to being on the internet and getting scammed, you can also get scammed in person by folks that are meant to that are saying that they have your best interests in mind when they really don't. So we do see a lot of family and friends scams. We do see romance scams, and you want to definitely look for the signs of a scam. For instance, with the sweetheart scam, you want to research someone you meet online. Don't rely only on what that person tells you. Perform internet searches. Consider getting a background check on someone if you're really thinking about getting involved in a long-term type relationship. Believe it or not, there are websites that have stored photos and profiles that are passed around among scammers. So you may know by doing a reverse image search or by searching the name and parts of the profile, you may be able to see that they've scammed other people, and you can end the relationship right then and there. If you insist on continuing with the relationship, at least talk to friends and family about any online relationships you have going on. Don't send someone you've only met online any money, even if you've developed a relationship with the individual, and be very skeptical of requests for money sent via wire transfer, prepaid money cards. Again, those are preferred payment methods for scammers. Now, I know that we've dealt with a consumer that was in a very deep sweetheart scam. It had been sending money to someone that went by several different last names for years, and the consumer had sent $1.2 million via FedEx to multiple individuals connected to this one supposed sweetheart. And just lots and lots of money. The consumer cashed out stocks and bonds to send money to the scammer, and she wasn't willing to admit it was a scam because the scammer's very kind, and she claimed that he was the only one, she was the only one that could help him in this emergency that he kept coming up with. Now I'm going to talk for a second about being safe in cyberspace. We talked about the romance scam. There's plenty of other concerns out there online. So it's really important to take some tips with you to be safe in cyberspace if you are in fact online. First of all, you want to maintain a clean computer. Make sure that if you have a virus scanner or an antivirus program, which is crucial in today's day and age, that you update it. And by updating, I mean going in and making sure that the latest version is on your computer. All these virus programs have updates to guard against the latest viruses. So if you don't have the latest updates, you should check for those updates on a regular basis, or better yet, if your computer asks you if you want to have it automatically check for updates, say yes. That gets it out of your hair. You don't have to mess with it. It'll automatically check for virus updates on a regular basis. You want to delete suspicious emails? We get a lot of phone calls about email attachments that are bogus, and people open up an email attachment that they're not familiar with and get malicious software on their computer that way. So when it comes to unknown attachments, downloads, links, pop-ups, be very skeptical and never click on a link that you don't know where it's going to. If you don't expect a link in someone's email, or if the email they're sending you only has a link without any context to it, confirm with them by phone or through an in-person meeting that that is a legitimate email. We get lots of situations where consumers get their accounts hacked into, and then they send emails to all of that victim's friends saying that they're stuck in a foreign country and they need money, or that they're stuck somewhere and they need you to send gift cards to someone. All kinds of scams out there. Watch out for scam websites and pop-ups, definitely. Don't provide personal information over free public Wi-Fi. Please be very cautious about anything you do using free public Wi-Fi. Even if you trust the library you're at, even if you trust the airport you're visiting, even if you trust the coffee shop, you don't necessarily have a safe connection through free public Wi-Fi. There are lots of ways to exploit public Wi-Fi by a scammer, so don't do anything on public Wi-Fi that you wouldn't want shown to a stranger. So don't put in any passwords, don't do any financial transactions, don't put in any credit card numbers or social security numbers. Do not do anything over free public Wi-Fi that you wouldn't want the world to see. Now we're going to talk for about 10 or 15 minutes about identity theft. Identity theft is crucial in today's economy to fight against, because we're dealing with a multi-billion-dollar industry of scammers that try to get personal information, open up credit cards, get medical devices, do all kinds of things under the guise of being you and me. So what exactly is identity theft? Identity theft occurs when a person obtains and uses your personal information without your permission to commit fraud. And the reason why we underline the word uses on this slide is because until someone actually uses the information, it's not necessarily identity theft. So if someone is able to access a bunch of social security numbers through a data breach, and they don't do anything with them, the data breach you might be a victim of, but you're not yet a victim of identity theft. It certainly makes you more vulnerable to potentially being an identity theft victim in the future. And we're gonna talk about some action you can take to try to prevent identity theft from happening. Some warning signs of identity theft. First of all, if you're denied credit when you know you have good credit, that can be a sign of identity theft. So if you get an unexpected result when you apply for a credit card or a car loan or refinancing your mortgage, that may be a red flag that you got to dig further and figure out why you've been denied that credit. If you see unauthorized charges anywhere on your bill or on your statement, you want to look out for those types of unauthorized charges, even if it's a very small amount. You want to dig deeper. You want to talk to the credit card company immediately or the bank immediately about those unauthorized charges and take action to prevent further identity theft. If debt collectors contact you and they seem to know a lot about you and the transaction that you supposedly owe money for, that can be a sign of identity theft. Frankly, we do see a lot of what we call phantom debt collectors, which are scammers that collect debt when they really aren't authorized to do so. They're not collecting on behalf of anybody. They're just telling people stories and trying to get money out of them. But if you know you don't owe the money, and you tell them that you deny the debt, and they follow up with you in writing and tell you your rights and tell you who the original creditor is and validate the debt, that's where you might be getting into an issue where there might actually be identity theft, where it's not necessarily a scam. Someone ran up the tab at your expense using your social security number or using your personal identifying information. If you receive unfamiliar bills or you no longer receive mail, again, these scammers will dumpster dive. They'll go through unlocked mailboxes. They'll do whatever it takes to try to get information about you. And certainly errors on your credit report. That's a very key way to catch identity theft, is to get copies of that credit report, and it's absolutely free to do so once a year through annualcreditreport.com. That is the website that came out of the congressional legislation a couple decades ago. They gave us all the right to get an annual credit report once a year from all three of the credit reporting agencies. So you actually get 3 reports a year. You can get one from Experian, one from TransUnion, and one from Equifax. You can do that anytime during the year. And you also, at this point, are allowed, based on COVID-19 and the virus, you are able through April 2021 to get weekly online access to your credit report. So if you're at home, if you're wanting some access to your credit reports, now is a better time than any, because you can actually get them on a weekly basis instead of just once a year. Again, that's only through April 2021. You can reduce your risks of identity theft by shredding documents. And by shredding, I mean at least a crosscut shredder, if not a confetti shredder. You want to shred documents with any personal identifying information on it. You want to watch for scams. We see a lot of what I call phishing scams, phishing spelled with a PH. That's where they're phishing for personal information. You might get a website, an email from a website claiming to be your bank or your credit card company. They may tell you a story about how your account's been compromised and you need to click on a link and give them all kinds of personal data and personal information to restore your credit card or restore access to your bank account. That's usually a scam, just a flat out scam. They can make the email look official by stealing the bank's graphics and logo and signatures and disclosure statements. They'll do the same thing to a website. They can spend a weekend creating a really good looking website that looks a lot like your real bank or your real credit card company. So watch out for those types of scams. Create a mail schedule. If you know when the mail comes, take it out of your mailbox promptly. Don't give scammers and identity thieves an opportunity to get out in front of your mail and take your information that might have personal significance to you that may be able to be used for identity theft purposes. Also, know that when you put information in your mailbox, if it's an unlocked mailbox and it has personal information on it, like a social security number on your tax return, think about taking that directly to the post office instead of leaving it in an unlocked mailbox with the flag up. That can signify something to scammers. They may take that tax return and steal your identity using your social security number. Update your computer software. Again, your operating system, your internet browser, and your antivirus software is crucial to keep up to date. There are security patches that may be needed on your system that they'll only get to you by you searching and downloading the latest update of your operating system or of your internet browser. And again, if your computer asks you if you want to automatically update those types of software, tell them yes. Then you don't have to regularly check for updates quite as often. Also, don't volunteer information. Instead of having a victim mentality, have a skeptic mentality. Be skeptical about folks that are asking for information, and if they ask for more than you think they need to complete that transaction, ask them why they need it. Do they have a privacy policy? When in doubt, say no. Monitor your financial statements as well. Certainly you can do that from your home computer. You can monitor financial statements by looking closely at what's in the mail or what's online, and you can catch unauthorized charges and anything else that looks unfamiliar to you. And certainly don't carry extra personal information like your social security card with you around town unless you know you need it that day. You don't want to be an easy target, and if somebody picks your pocket or steals your purse, or if you misplace something, the last thing you want is the additional headache of having your social security card or extra credit cards or other account information in that pocketbook for the scammer to look at. These are some final tips to summarize the presentation today. First of all, we have some always tips. Always report illegal robocalls. We talked about that and how important it is for you to not answer the phone, but if you do answer, report robocalls by sending the word robo to 888-111. Always research businesses and charities. Always beware of strangers who seek personal connections. Keep your personal information private. And know that if it's too good to be true, it probably is. That might be the best advice for the whole day. Here's some never tips. You never want to send money via suspicious methods like Western Union, MoneyGram. Only do that if it's somebody you already know and you know in person. Never send money or do business with someone suspicious by one of those payment methods. And if you're paying for something in an eBay gift card, it certainly should be only on eBay. And if you're paying for something through a Google Play card, it should only be used at the Google Play store, not by somebody else, some other third party wanting to do business with you. That is likely a scam. Never give personal information whenever possible. Never carry unnecessary personal information in your billfold, in your pocketbook, in your purse. Never pay to win a prize. Again, prizes are supposed to be free. Never pay anything in advance for the promise of a prize or a grant. Never allow a stranger remote access to your computer. And never pay the full amount up front, at least for home improvement jobs. I guess you have to pay the full amount up front for something like gas and groceries, but when you're dealing with someone who is trying to get you to get home improvement work done, pay in increments, or pay maybe 10 or 20% up front, save as much as possible for when they actually complete the work. If you want to file a complaint or learn more about scams and fraud and consumer protection issues, I encourage you to go to ohioprotects.org. That is a great website that we have lots of information on lots of different topics on there. Also, if you need identity theft victim assistance, if you need to report a scam, if you want to sign up for our consumer advocate newsletter free of charge, or if you want to request a presentation like this, please go to www.ohioprotects.org. You can certainly contact our office at our toll-free number. That is our help center. It's 800-282-0515. Again, that's 800-282-0515. No matter what you need from the Ohio Attorney General's office, your call likely should start with that help center phone number. Also, if you need information about any other section of the office, you can go to www.ohioattorneygeneral.gov. We have the little microsite, ohioprotects.org, but if you want the whole office, if you're looking for career opportunities or civil rights section or some other section of the office, go online to ohioattorneygeneral.gov. And here are some consumer resources for you, including the Twitter and the Facebook profiles for the Attorney General's office. We encourage you to follow us. And also we have information on the Better Business Bureau, the Federal Trade Commission, the Do Not Call Registry, the annual credit report. There is a phone number. For those of you that don't want to request a credit report online, you can simply call up the toll-free number. And there's also, for those of you that are online, on the screen right now, you'll see the National Cybersecurity Alliance website at www.staysafeonline.org. They have a list of vendors out there that will do a virus scan of your computer free of charge initially. So if you don't have an antivirus program, or if you just need an instantaneous view of whether you might have a lot of viruses on your computer, try Stay Safe Online for their list of free virus scanning websites. And certainly if you need to contact us, again, 800-282-0515. My name is Ryan Lippe, and I'm a consumer educator with the Ohio Attorney General's office. Dave Yost is the Attorney General. I appreciate you having me and enjoying the last hour or so with you. That's been great. If you need any further information, please let us know. And I appreciate your attention. Please be skeptical. Please be wise out there when you're dealing with scammers and fraudsters. Thank you so much and have a good day.